What's up, YouTube friends? My name is Danny Jones, and welcome to Jones Vibes.
Jones Vibes.
First and foremost, thank you so much for clicking on this review. And if you like it, please go ahead and subscribe as well as hit the notification bell. That'll keep you up to date when I make more content. And now for the reason that we're all here. We have a brand new Marvel movie and a brand new superhero to welcome to the MCU. Today we are breaking down Shang-Chi in the Legend of the Ten Rings. And wow. I almost can't even do this. Honestly, just wow. I went to this movie Friday night of opening weekend. It was last night for me right now. And you can see my reaction outside the theater. I mean, I was just overwhelmed. This movie was so freaking good. But before I do, this is the first Marvel movie that I've broken down on my channel. And it's hard for me to describe to you how much these movies mean to me. It's one of the biggest and best experiments in film history, and it has just worked out tremendously for them. I mean, I can't even believe that we're here. From Iron Man all the way to Endgame, and now moving into Phase 4, this is just incredible. Also, pretty much everybody's on board with the MCU by now. I feel like it's rare that you meet somebody who hasn't at least watched most of the films. It's almost like you're part of some exclusive club.
You cool, man? Like how? Okay.
But leading up to this, I wasn't so sure about Shang-Chi. I mean, this whole last summer, Kevin Feige, the Marvel mastermind himself, what's up, Feige? You rock, bro. He's mainly been talking about the Eternals. And yeah, that movie looks like it's gonna be a heavy hitter. But it just seemed to me like nobody was talking about Shang-Chi. And also, this movie doesn't really have any big-time names. A lot of these actors are still relatively new, or at least I hadn't heard of them. I mean, when it came to going to Thor, it was like, oh cool, we have Chris Hemsworth, we have Idris Elba, we have Anthony Hopkins. Captain America, we have Chris Evans, we have Hugo Weaving, Mr. Anderson. Even Ant-Man, we have Paul Rudd, Evangeline Lilly, Michael Douglas. And along with an unknown cast, we have an unknown director as well. Which, by the way, I love how Marvel does this. They bring in these indie-type directors to helm these massive studio blockbusters. People like Taika Waititi and Ryan Coogler. Shang-Chi brought in Destin Daniel Cretton. I think I'm saying that right. And now I want this guy to make every Marvel movie. I mean, the Russo brothers are pretty good, but let's bring on Cretton. Still don't know if I'm saying that right. And as for the actors, it's starring Simu Liu, who I had never heard of before this. Awkwafina, who has a show on Comedy Central called Nora from Queens. And I was pretty curious about her and how her performance was gonna come across, but wow.
Wow.
She might be my favorite part of this movie. Why am I so thirsty all of a sudden? And then we have Tony Leung Chiu-Wai. He's a 7-time winner at the Hong Kong Film Awards, and he's huge in China. And rounding this out, we have Florian Munteanu, which I just had to mention this guy. He's Victor Drago's son in Creed 2, and I thought his performance in that movie was awesome. He's like, I will drink Creed's blood, or something like that. Now that that's all out of the way, it's time to break this movie down. And let's pump the brakes really quick. If you haven't seen this movie, you're about to be spoiled. Full spoilers ahead. So my initial thoughts for this movie is that it was just amazing. The action and the kung fu and the magic and the acting and the story. Oh my gosh. It's the first movie since Infinity War that I've wanted to go back to and watch again. So the movie starts out with Zhu Wenwu, and it's talking about how he's been around for thousands of years and he discovered the Ten Rings, and he's basically just using it for power. He has a massive army called the Ten Rings, and it shows this huge battle sequence where he's like, and these dudes are like, no, and he's like, but there's this village, Talo, that he's trying to find because apparently it has mystical creatures and a bunch of magic. And so he goes in search for it and ends up going through this big maze of bamboo trees. Kind of reminded me of Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. Harry, the cup is a portkey. But Zhu ends up meeting his future wife. Her name's Ying Li, and they have this fight sequence that is just beautiful. Immediately, you get the sense that you're watching Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, or a Hayao Miyazaki film. And so he ends up putting the rings down and marrying her and having a family. And after the parents get married, it kind of walks us through a lot of their life. They have a boy and a girl, Shang-Chi and Leung, but unfortunately their mother dies. And Shang-Chi watched this happen. But then he is trained by his dad to become an assassin. But Zhu won't train his daughter because women aren't allowed. So she watches from the side and becomes the super awesome kung fu fighter. But after it catches us up to speed, it kind of flashes us forward to present day, where we have Shang-Chi and Katie living in San Francisco. And they both work as car valets, which always seemed like a pretty fun job. And after we dig into their life a little bit, this movie just thrusts these two on the craziest adventure. There's the bus scene. Oh, the bus scene. You're really introduced to the future fighting style. It reminded me a ton of The Raid, and it was one of the coolest fight scenes that I've seen on the big screen in a long time. In that scene, you also have Razor Fist, who's this big dude with a machete for an arm, and he's like, "I will break you, Shang-Chi." Just kidding, he didn't say that. Kind of wish he did, though. And then all of a sudden, we're in Macau, where his sister has this underground fighting ring. Wong from Doctor Strange is there fighting Abomination from the Hulk, and apparently Wong has him, like, locked up in a jail or something. I don't know, but he's supposed to be in She-Hulk, so I'm really looking forward to that, and I thought Abomination just looked great. But when the members of the Ten Rings attack, some of the fight scenes are so cool, with this city skyline in the background. I don't know why, but I was honestly getting Matrix vibes. There's also this crazy ninja guy that has a blue mask on, like Colt from Three Ninjas. I know y'all remember those movies. But this guy is so agile and quiet and swift. I know he didn't have a lot of screen time, but he was one of my favorite characters. But Shang, his sister, and Katie end up getting captured, and we quickly find out that his dad is actually the Mandarin, which I thought was kind of tight. They've been talking about the Ten Rings organization for so long in these movies now, and so to have it fleshed out with such a cool character at the helm, I just really thought that was cool. But this movie had a lot of highs, and there was just one low for me. And honestly, I got a little stressed in the theater. I tensed up because I was like, am I not gonna like this movie now? And the scene that I'm talking about is when Ben Kingsley, the actor who plays the actor in Iron Man 3, is found in like the dungeon area. And he has this kind of creepy little creature with no face. And I found myself just kind of going, oh no. So this is what we're doing now? But I was so wrong. There is a small lull in this movie, and it's when they're finding their way to Talo and escaping from the Mandarin. And there's some cheesy Ben Kingsley lines. And yes, I was worried, but then they get to Talo. And pretty much the ending of this movie begins. So basically, to set all this up, Shung's dad is trying to get his wife back. But they find out that it's an evil spirit calling to him, and it's this soul sucker monster that Godzilla could easily just own, but that's a different conversation.
Very clever.
And his dad doesn't realize that he's going to set this thing free and he's not going to get his wife back. And so the arc of the father-son relationship is just so powerful in this movie. He's doing a lot of this out of love. And this beautiful, beautiful story sets up one of the most epic final fights I've seen in a movie. And his dad ends up sacrificing himself and gives Shang the ring. But then you have this mystical battle going on between a dragon and an I don't know what the soul sucker monster is. But everybody's fighting. Shang's sister, Katie's firing arrows. And you also have Shang and his sister's relationship. So she still has this tension towards him. And there's this scene towards the end where he's like, I'm not letting go. And that was just good filmmaking, man. And it all culminates with Shang demonstrating his true power. He does it a little bit in the fight with his dad, and then at the end, he's flying through the air, and he slams down and kills the soul sucker. And I was just emotional, man. This was like the closest thing I've ever gotten to a good live-action Avatar: The Last Airbender. We're not even going to talk about M. Night Shyamalan. The world that they created is something that I just want to explore more. And I truly commend the director, Destin Daniel Cretton, Kevin Feige, all of the actors, and everybody that made this possible. Like I said, some of the Ben Kingsley stuff had me worried, but the movie ended up pulling through in so many ways. But just some more things to highlight. I want to emphasize how much I loved Awkwafina in this film. Her character Katie was bubbly and funny and charming, and her and Simu Liu together just work so well. Especially at the end when they're back at dinner with their friends and just how casual it all is, and they're talking about the soul sucker. I found that hilarious, as well as like the references to Venmo and just things that we all say on a daily basis. But speaking of the end, you see a portal, start coming through the air in the restaurant. I know we all kind of wanted Doctor Strange or something, but Wong steps through and tells them to come with him, which literally gave me goosebumps. But yeah, then the movie ends, it goes to credits, and we have 2 post-credit scenes to talk about. The first basically just following them as they go with Wong, and they're at this table, and they're talking about the rings. Who's at that table, you ask? Captain Marvel, Brie Larson, and the Hulk, Mark Ruffalo, who is still in a cast, by the way, after the snap, and it kind of looked like he had some sort of contraption that can make him be human now, because I thought he was trapped as the Hulk. But anyway, they're analyzing the rings, and I guess it's sending a signal to something, which got me extremely excited. Now, the second post-credit scene is his sister, Leung, and apparently she's going to take up the mantle of the 10 rings. Now, I don't really understand why her and her brother would be at odds now, but they're definitely setting her character up for more. Regardless, the vibes were on. And that goes for the whole movie. Good vibes. You know, for me this past year, I've loved the streaming like I was saying. And I know Black Widow was supposed to be the official start to Phase 4. And I liked Black Widow, I really did. But this felt like the start of Phase 4. Because after Endgame, I was sitting there going, what more can they do? But after watching Shang-Chi, there's a lot more you can do. Sorry, I just get excited. But that about wraps it up. Once again, if you liked this video, go ahead and subscribe as well as hit the notification bell and leave me a comment. Let me know what you thought about the movie. But anyway, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time.